one of the big things I found was that the companies that were successful were spending equal amounts on brand versus demand. The companies that weren't doing well were overspending on demand generation marketing. We're really in the middle of a SaaS recession. Our growth rates for B2B SaaS companies are now at a median of 11 to 20%, when they used to be north of 30%. 40% would be expected if you were a growing company. Companies that were growing more than other companies were spending on paid channels more. Those things are more expensive, but they do work in terms of faster growth. We're in an era of marketing inflation. While the performance across channels is more or less the same, you have to pay more to get that same performance because you can't cut your way to growth anymore. What is working in the marketing world? The one bright spot is events.
By the way, Omar, what do you think of my background? This is a test to see if you can hang.
I love this background. I wish, everybody tells you don't have a busy background, and I'm like, no, man, get as busy as you want. I love it.
From ABM to PLG, from Medic to MedPick, the world of business is constantly evolving. We'll cover the who, what, where, when, why, and most importantly, how you get the transaction. I'm Matt Amundson, and he's Craig Rosenberg. Let's get started.
So look, I stumbled on Omar because I saw some of his work, I think in the coffee chat or coffee talk chat or whatever, and then I was talking to Matt Hines, and he's like, "Oh well, dude, you gotta meet Omar," and his work is really great. If I think hopefully we'll be exposing that to a lot of people. I think including Matt. I don't know if you've seen Omar's stuff yet, but you're gonna love it. But like I've had like 40 people over the last 2-3 years come to me and say, I want to build the next topo. And I tell them, if you cherish your life, don't do it. But the true thing is that data is hard, and selling data to B2B companies can be hard. But if you deliver really amazing actionable insights, which is what Omar's trying to do, you can start to see a guy like him sort of standing out above the rest. And so that's why I had to have him on the show. It's an honor to have you. And thank you for joining us today, Omar.
Craig, thank you so much for that very generous introduction. I really feel like everything else is going to be a letdown after that one. So I appreciate you setting the bar, but it's a pleasure to meet you. Yeah, I really appreciate meeting you, and thank you for having me on today.
So yeah, man, it's funny for us. So this will be a real test. So it's like the folks that I just met you like a month ago. So like having to come on and try to hang with the banter is going to that'll be part of your test. And also the big test will be the story. So we got two parts to the show.
Mm-hmm.
Number one is tell us a great go-to-market story or company founding story or anything like that. That's either funny, heroic, sad. Like our craziest one, I think to date, is the maggots on the plane.
Raccoon.
Yeah, that was a big one. But can I? And then the second part is like, tell us 1 to 3 things that you're seeing in the data, everyone, that's working in today's environment. Before you guys go on your story, I got to tell you guys, dude, oh my God. Today I met with a buddy. I won't say his name. And he was, I had surgery in like 2 months. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, oh, well, I got to get this plate fixed. And I'm like, oh, what happened? So, dude, he was on a sales call. And he was with a big company in like Dallas, I think, or somewhere in Texas. And he went to the bathroom, came out, was on his phone texting. He flips over the hotel railing because he's not paying attention, falls 2 stories.
No, I shouldn't have laughed.
Yeah, that was, by the way, for the person whose story this is, Matt just laughed. And then he landed on a couch. So he was still concussed, and he's had to have surgery. But like, how freaking crazy is that?
Yeah.
So like, and by the way, I mean he got the deal, and he's doing his thing. But like, It's just amazing. All right, so there. That sorry, I had to throw in that story. I couldn't believe it.
Jeez.
Matt thought it was hilarious. Uh, so, uh, Omar, you could see that we're
No.
not sure. Like, depending on your story, Matt's reaction, we'll have to see. But anyway, tell us
I'm gonna
something.
have to
What do you
listen to
got?
the whole thing before I react too. But
You know, can I, like, jokes aside, there's a class of people, and I'm sure that you've encountered them, who will laugh at the worse the news is, will laugh even more, and it's sort of like it called it a nervous tick or whatever it is. And when they have to deliver bad news to you, their smile gets bigger and bigger, and they just don't know how to deal with it. And I've seen this sort of in comedy shows, but I've also encountered it in real life. I'm like, dude, why are you smiling when you're giving me the worst news possible? And yeah, Matt, I don't know if that's your thing, but just so you know, this is a safe space, and we're accepting of all sorts of nervous ticks, that sort of thing. Cool. What should I tell you? A go to market story that is not very related to business, but I think has some fun lessons.
yes,
Those are the ones we like.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
see
Cool.
how Matt, we'll see how
It,
Matt reacts, Omar. Let's.
so it started with my dog dying. No, I'm looking at Matt. No, I'm kidding. It's not that. But yeah.
Sorry. Oh man! All right, sorry. Go ahead.
No. So here's the thing. Unlike you guys, I did not start at the age of 5 thinking I was going to go into B2B marketing and sales. What I did, in fact, think about was being a rock star. That is literally my only life goal was I'm going to play in a band. I heard Eddie Van Halen rip a guitar solo of Michael Jackson's Beat It when I was 5 years old, and I'm like, that's what I want to do. And so I learned how to play guitar. I got older, joined a bunch of bands, singer songwriter, and this is back in my native Pakistan, right? And so I did that for a while. Came to the U.S., went to college, and went back to Pakistan with the sole purpose of I'm going to start a rock band and we're going to be famous. All right. And so how do you, again, this is very, very much like, okay, how do you start something from scratch or just like catch fire? We started off, as you do, playing weddings and backyards, and we were terrible, but we got better as time went on. But things really started to take off when I did two things. I started blogging about my experiences in a band. But here's the thing. I started off by blogging with the truth, and then I eventually started blogging with just completely made up stuff. Saying that, so I'd created these narratives where I encountered local celebrities and I jammed with them, and then I'd sort of it got and I started getting a blog following, and it got wilder and wilder, where I was just like completely making up stuff that did not happen at all, and half the like to the point where it was like it was so obvious, but half the audience didn't know what the joke was. They were like, "You're lying. You didn't actually go on a private plane with Bill Gates." And I'm like, "Nah, I totally did." And and this started building a blog following. The other thing we started to do, we started to put out promo videos where the band members and I would pretend to be other famous people. And we put it out completely straight faced and say that, hi. So imagine if that would be like the equivalent of me saying that, hi, this is, it's me, Bono from U2, and and I want you to like, yeah, I'd like you to come to my show that's going to be at this place, etc., etc. So, completely straight faced, and those videos took off. This is before TikTok, this is before Vine, this is before YouTube. This is just me putting stuff out. That was Facebook at the time, and we did that. And every time we sort of like tried to see how much more over the top can we go. One of the people who we were parodying got pissed, reached out to us, and told us to take it down. And we put up another video doubling down on it, saying that no, we are the real famous celebrity. The other guys are fake. And that video went viral. And so half these people started coming to our shows, just be like, I don't know if these guys sound good or not, but man, they're funny. and eventually we got into this thing, and I got semi-famous in Pakistan. I was on so the band actually had like a couple of hit singles. And then, anyway, long story short, that was fun for a while. I turned 30. I couldn't wear leather pants with any credibility anymore. And then I decided I was going to be a writer. So that sort of led me out in a couple of steps to where I am today. But it was Rockstar, then writer, and now B2B SaaS marketing analyst. So you can see.
it's a tale as old as time.
Don't want to end on such a sad note. Yeah.
Okay. first of all, my favorite is that the notification I get from Squadcast is network is struggling.
Oh gosh.
What a description. Oh, I know it is. Well, hold on, Matt. I mean, Matt, we didn't mean to discourage you from not reacting with how you feel. Share your emotions with us.
Well, it was a roller coaster. It had ups and downs, and twists and turns. It had rising action. It was. I mean, I give it an A+. Great story.
I thought it was a great story, by the way. You that was interesting, fun. And let's go through a couple things before we move on. One is, how did the dog dying fit into the story?
I just wanted to see
That's
if
Matt.
Matt was going to laugh or not.
Uh, so, and then you wore leather pants. Can we dig into that? You're no longer wearing what leather pants? Is that it?
They ripped on stage. They were so tight
Oh, no.
that I bent down and I heard the rip, and I had to go behind a giant amplifier and change. This is how. Well, I got lucky because I arrived to the show in my regular jeans. I changed into my leather pants like Avenger style, and, and then those ripped on stage. I don't think anyone saw it. I think my drummer saw it, and then I just kind of went behind an amp, changed, and came out. And yeah, that's my cool Rockstar story.
Nice.
Oh my god, I love
Also,
it.
yeah. Also, those pants were a gift, and if there's a lesson for all of you, don't ever get leather pants as a gift because the quality is just questionable, and you
Yeah.
don't know if they're gonna fit. Yeah,
That's a best practice I can
yeah.
get down. Yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
normally I like store-bought leather pants.
Yeah,
Matt,
Ray
of course-
Reich had a similar thought on leather pants on his episode as well, I think.
did he?
Yeah.
What was?
No, I'm joking.
Yeah, cool. All right. So I'll give you an A on that story. Actually, that was excellent, man. I appreciate you on that, man. That was
Yeah.
really good. There was a whole bunch of elements, as Matt said. There was ups and downs. You're very eloquent in the storytelling process. That's great. All right. So
Appreciate it.
yeah, of course. So we've intimidated Matt. This is not him.
What?
This is not him. Well, where are you, man? Like, you're funny. You're funny. Hold on. This is incredible.
Your dog has entered the room. Craig has like an 800-pound Saint Bernard.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few dogs you're like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right. So it's my 14-year-old kid's birthday today, and it was supposed to be casual, and I'm a grand in just trying to buy alcohol and the cake, my wife and the cakes and all that. All right. So tell us what's going on. Like, you have the data. So, like, what are the things that are working today? Just to give you the background on the podcast, Matt and I started it because we were like, things are changing. Let's go figure it out. And we were talking to people and then talking among ourselves. You may not have, as you get used to our podcast, it's sort of a reflection of it, but like, we had really good banter about it, and we're like, let's go put it on a podcast. So we like guys like you coming on and tell us things that the market doesn't know, or confirming things that they do know. And so we're looking forward to this one, man. Talk to
Yeah,
us.
absolutely. So I started Benchmarker. So just to give you a bit of context, I've been a research analyst or career analyst for about last decade or so. I started off as a MarTech analyst. I was one of the first journalists to write about Adobe Marketing Cloud, Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and it's kind of the wars that were happening there. And then I joined Altimeter Group, which is kind of like a baby Forrester out here in the Bay Area, to write about marketing excellence. And we got acquired by a consultancy who used us to do research on what good marketing looks like. What are the marketing best practices, maturity models, etc. And along the way, every single one of my clients, which were Fortune 500 companies, would ask me, could you just give us the numbers? Like, what are the benchmarks for what good looks like, especially for a company of my size and the way that I go to market? And I don't know about you guys, if you were under $1 billion in annual revenue, it's really tough to get that data. I think Forrester and Gartner kind of give you some of it if you're above a certain level. So I thought that was a something that was lacking in the market, and I thought I could probably do a better job of doing this on my own. And I had this sense that, if we go out there and we survey the right people, and if we go to the executives directly, and if we give them some sort of financial incentive, we can get good data. Even if the end number isn't high, at least we'll know that the data we're getting is solid. And so at the beginning of 2024, I set out, I spoke to a bunch of folks who I knew, saying, hey, if I build this thing, will you buy it? And they said, yeah, we'll check it out. And so I formed Benchmarker. And so now this is my second year running Benchmarker, and I do surveys on specifically for B2B SaaS companies and their marketing teams. And I only look at, I look at a couple of things. I look at budgets and spending. I look at performance benchmarks. I'm also going to be looking at tech adoption. What does a tech stack look like? How does it change as you go from small company to big company? And then I'm also looking at things like events and content marketing, really just to give you a full picture of what does marketing look like, or average marketing, good marketing look like at a B2B SaaS company, and how is it different when you are a sub $10 million company, or $100 million company, or $500 million company. So you can cut the results by the type of company that you are. Makes a big difference. Also makes a big difference if you're going after the enterprise or not. So all of that is to say that the first year I did this survey, I found something that was interesting. And again, I'm not a marketer. I don't have a dog in this fight. But I found that last year, that companies that exceeded their revenue targets were spending more on brand marketing than they were on demand marketing. And then I repeated the survey again this year, even though generally they were spending more on demand gen marketing. This year, I did the survey again. One of the big things I found was that the companies that were successful were spending equal amounts on brand versus demand, even though spending on brand had come down. They're spending equal amounts on brand versus demand. But the companies that weren't doing well were overspending on demand generation marketing. And that was a really sort of key finding to me. But when I zoomed out, there's a couple of things that also came to mind that I think we as marketers know, but we can't quantify, which is that we're really in the middle of a SaaS recession. Our growth rates for this past year for B2B SaaS companies are now at a median of 11 to 20%, when they used to be north of 30%. 40% would be expected if you were a growing company. 11 to 20% is the lowest it's been in a long time. The other thing that we're seeing is we're in an era of marketing inflation. So while the performance across channels is more or less the same, you have to pay more to get that same performance. So your cost per lead on paid search, your cost per lead on LinkedIn, those are, on search, it's about $100 per lead. On LinkedIn, it's north of $200, sometimes even $300 a lead, which is astronomical compared to what it used to be. And so the big finding to me was that growth rates are down. There's marketing inflation. The same amount of budgets get you worse performance. And this idea that we used to have for a long time where you have to do more with less doesn't hold true anymore, because you can't cut your way to growth anymore. You have to choose if you're going to be an efficient company, or an efficient marketing team, or a marketing team that's growing exponentially. It's really, really difficult to do both at the same time. That's kind of the biggest sort of false perception that I'd like to disprove.
Damn, gee.
That was a lot. Yeah.
Matt, I know we've been teasing him, but CMO Matt, what's your reaction to that?
Well, my reaction is like, I think in the sort of heyday, call it 2010s all the way up until the end of ZERP, like, companies that were growing were spending a ton of money on marketing. And they, like, yes, they wanted to be efficient, and yes, they had benchmark metrics that they were using, provided from people like Omar, but people were comfortable outspending, right? They were comfortable with that. And I think what is potentially different in the current day and age is that, like, some of these huge companies like Cursor and Lovable, they don't really do very much advertising. Their product sort of speaks for itself, or they do advertising and or marketing in sort of non-traditional ways through community and whatnot. So I think, like, what I hear from my peers is their marketing budgets are constantly getting slashed. How do I replace human beings or certain technology with AI that's more cost effective? And it's hurting marketing, right? It's just hurting. And their companies are not growing as a result. Like, we have tried to put a lot of controls over how much money we're deploying, have like really airtight metrics around what the ROI of everything that we do is, which is good and, looks great in a board deck, but The thing that doesn't look great in a board deck is when that ARR growth isn't there. And I think generally speaking, that is like the sort of catch-22 that we're stuck in right now is as SaaS companies are getting displaced by AI companies, those SaaS companies are spending less money and they're becoming less visible. And, it's kind of doubling their decline, or the rate of their decline, I should say.
The other thing to keep in mind is that a lot of this stuff is out of marketing's hands. Most of it is out of marketing hands. You brought up the Lovable and Cursor. That when you have a great product, you don't have to do much, and a lot of companies sort of forget that part. Is like there's only so much marketing can do, and there's a lot of bad SaaS out there that's been in the heyday, especially, and there was a big uptick in this like right post COVID where things were just going bananas for a while, where people just bought a lot of stuff, not just SaaS, but everything else in the economy as well. And so we now are in a very saturated market, and the SaaS that's winning are the incumbents, the Salesforces and the HubSpots of the category leaders, the folks that have spending power and brand. They have spent, they're not likely to get pushed out if they're being bought by enterprises. They don't want to sort of switch them out at this point in time. So the mid-size and the smaller SaaS are really getting hurt by this development out here. And unless people look at Lovable and Cursor, but they're the exceptions that prove the rule almost, in the sense that one or two AI native companies are really taking off, rocket growth. Most of them kind of dead in the water because they're not always solving great use cases.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, so let's do the companies that are doing well thing. So they spend equal amounts on brand and demand. Is
Yeah.
what you're, okay.
Yeah, and it's really so much about when you think about it, it's not so much that the companies that are doing well are spending more on brand and demand. It's that the companies that are not doing well are spending so much more on on demand. Sorry, and that's the thing that really sort of puts it into relief to say that okay, this isn't working. And what that shows is it's a and a lot of people like causation versus correlation. So I dug a little deeper and I found out that the companies that were doing well were also doing a few other things differently. They were spending more as a whole, generally, their percentage of budget allocated to marketing or percentage of annual revenue allocated to marketing was 10 to 12%, versus companies that were not doing well were spending less than that, closer to like 7 to 9%. The other thing they were doing was that companies that were growing more than other companies were spending on paid channels more. So they're spending on paid search, they're spending on paid social. Those things are more expensive, but they do work in terms of faster growth. They work better than your organic channels like content marketing or email marketing, which tend to sort of people fall back on those things when your ad budgets or your marketing budgets get cut because they think they're not as expensive, and they're not, but they're also not as efficient at reaching a large group of people.
Yeah, we as a show we're like trying to find the other stuff, and then we had Amy Holtzman on, who's God, where is she, Matt? Do you remember her company?
Check.
And she gets on and she's like, you know what? Like, my top, we asked her the same thing. She's like, you know what? Paid search brought us our biggest enterprise deals that closed in quarter. And Matt was like, I know. Like, it's like and this is like a good reminder for us, because we're always, well, at least I am. Matt lives it every day, but like we're trying to find the other things, and a paid channel, even if it's a little bit more expensive, if not a lot more expensive, that's delivering the results. Those are the things where it sounds like good companies and many people we know are still spending their money. It's the right place to do it, right? I do wonder on the content marketing, the yield on that. It feels like you just have to do it, but like, I don't know, Matt, like, is like the organic, I mean, it's like product organic is like what you were sort of describing on the first two. I don't know what your thoughts are on that part of or what Omar was talking about.
Well, we're going to be releasing our first state of DevOps report, which was a lengthy process that we underwent in order to get that to market. So I hope content marketing still works really well, but my expectations are not necessarily that it's going to drive me, 100 demo requests in the first week that it was launched. I do think it's important, in certain cases, like your content becomes the sort of fulcrum of your brand, right? Like, do you want to be seen as a company that is data driven, has access to unique kinds of data, can provide insights that people can't find in other places? Do you want to be creative, funny? Do you want to attack an incumbent? Like, these are the things that become kind of the tip of the spear for who you are as a brand. There's certainly not like it's certainly not all encompassing of what a brand strategy is, but it should be in line with what your brand strategy is supposed to be. I think content like still matters. I think it's a little bit it's it's different now than it was before, right? Because people are far more picky about what they want to engage with, right? I think generally shorter works better than longer. But it is also sort of good to have these long content assets. People are like, at least you have taken an authoritative stance on something, and you've done research. I don't know if they read it or not, but they're like, oh, you got a 35-page white paper. That's some thoughtful stuff. So I think that there's maybe a little gravitas halo effect that comes along with that. But I think the thing is consistently pumping out content is what matters. And if you go to, some of these hyper scaled out companies, the Cursors and whatnot, they have a lot of really short blog posts, 2-3 paragraphs. In a lot of cases, it's product announcement or feature announcement, things like that. But people want to just consume really quickly. And I think more and more people, they value content that's been written about a company from a peer more than they value the content that's written from the brand itself. And so it comes back to the community aspect. I think, the secret sauce of why Cursor is so big is they've got this really thriving Reddit community where people are posting every day about new and cool stuff that they're doing with the product. Creating that is very, very hard, right? Like people are just kind of like, oh, start a subreddit and you're off and running. It's not that easy. If it was, there'd be a lot more Cursors on this planet, and as it is, there's only one.
High risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Completely. Well, I'm really glad to hear you say you're doing a state of report. I still believe that the only content moats that are there are either you have proprietary research that you've put out there that's actually valuable to people, and the other one is if you have individuals who are doing micro content marketing and they're just charismatic and they're great followers. Just like you said, people are not buying from the brands anymore, they're buying from people. And if you are lucky enough to have a few folks in your team that do that day in day out, and they've got a great following, and they're authentically engaging on social media channels, there's nothing like it. Anything in between just kind of falls apart. So what doesn't work anymore is kind of your mid-sized blog post, like about nothing, like 500 words to 1,000 words. So I always tell people, like, either go tiny or go big. Don't anything in the middle, just kind of, no one really reads that anymore. So and even things like podcasts. I did a report last year where people were getting like an average of 100, 200 views on podcasts, but everyone, which is not a lot, but consistently, everyone I speak to says it's been my best channel in terms of engagement. And part of the reason is that A, it's authentic, and B, people just like watching people's faces. And I'm using that as a segue to talk about, what is working in the marketing world. The one bright spot is events. And we're seeing spending on events, it's gone up to, the median on my report was like 18 to 20% of the total marketing program's budget. But in speaking to CMOs, some are allocating even a third of their budget to events. And when I mean events, it's not just like a big marquee event that they do on their own. It's smaller sponsored dinners. It's very targeted, very boutique sort of face-to-face meetings where they're getting some prospects together with existing clients. And what's old is new again, like good old-fashioned networking and being good to your customers and prospects. That stuff is still working. The more people do that, there's always upside there.
Yeah, sorry guys. I found out that my dog was barking at the actual delivery, not the delivery person. He kept barking because they left the stuff on the front door.
Nice.
Oh gosh.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to give him credit for that. Hey, I just wanted to go back on something, and then I'll go to your thing. So I'm going to make one point, which is I wouldn't, like when Matt was talking about his definitive guide, that is a demand gen asset though. Like I think it's different, like what you were describing, which is the right now with AI, people are just putting out content for the sake of content that just doesn't work. They're trying to hit. Whereas, I mean, Matt, I'm sure, like for example, that asset will be on your paid channels,
Yeah.
right? Or yeah. So like, it's actually that's not content for the sake of content. That's content for the sake of demand, and you need to have something that will convert, and something like that is going to be interesting. Also, probably a good press type social sharing tidbits as well. Okay, so that was one thing. I think like you clarifying like content for the sake of content is just not working. You either go big or you go small. I think that makes a ton of sense. The podcast where you can get people's faces in front of that too, I think is really important. The events. So we see the same thing. Like the not necessarily, if you do a big show, your side events are the ones where you have to put like the unique sort of side event thing is really important. The dinners, I have a number of startups where like dinners are their number one conversion. If you understand your market and, can bring the right people together, that stuff works. And like even for a Series A company that has no marketing department, that's their best thing. And I'm frankly really glad, because if they had to go figure out how to win on digital, like Matt's been doing this for 20 years. So like figuring out digital for him, even though maybe he's not getting the numbers he's still getting numbers,
Yeah.
man. Right. Because he's like, here's where we're going to start, and here's how I'm going to test it, and here's what I'm going to adjust, and here's like, and so I'm actually thankful, because an event and anybody could do, as long as they're very precise about the ICP and the people there, and in many cases the content that might be the value add to those dinners. And now, man, we got all these guys on the outside doing dinners. I mean, we talked about AJ the other day. He's been on the show, man. That dude, I get emails from that guy with 4 dinners a week. He's going off, and I'm like, "What? Do you ever have bad dinners?" Like, no, because if you bring the right people together, these things work. So I love that, and I'm so glad that you said that. Hopefully, it'll be like a good snippet for everyone, because they got to see that's like the thing that's working for everyone.
Yeah, it's working. I mean, the simplest way I think about it is like, look, man, if you paid for my dinner, I'll take your call. Like, it's the least I can do, right? Having said that, I have been to bad dinners, and they get bad because if you start talking about your product before anyone's had a glass of wine, that you're dead in the water.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that. But don't talk about anything until people have had a bite to eat or something to drink, or just a bit more relaxed. I think younger founders, if they rush into it and they think that they have to get their stuff out immediately, it always fails. And B, I mean, I love my consultant friends, but don't call them to the dinners because it's really tough to sort of have a frank discussion if you think that the guy in front of you is going to pitch you quickly. So if you happen to show up, and if you are a consultant, you show up there, really just try to be personable and not pitch. And everyone has a good time, and I think that usually ends up working better anyway. But are we allowed to swear on this podcast? I don't know.
Fuck yeah.
So
Allowed to? What
I was
swear? We've been texting back and forth. Is he going to swear or not?
I was going to talk about the enshittification of platforms, and I can already foresee the enshittification of dinners. Like once the bros start talking about dinners, and what they did and how they 2x something, and they got AI to sort of create like a guest list from bubbles. Like, can we please have one thing that humans do organically and just let that be the thing that they do to sort of form relationships? So it's ripe for enshittification is what my point is.
Oh man, see now that's a really good use of swear words.
Yeah.
The other one, the other dinner ruiner, dude, all those things resonate. Is salesperson dinner training.
Oh yeah.
Because they oh, yeah. Don't get them started. There are salespeople that really get it. they actually typically work with field marketing to put on their dinners, and they do a really good job. Like
Yeah.
literally, I've been to some where I don't want to go, but I'm like, you guys did great. Like, and but there's many where they don't get it, and they sort of make it a terrible experience for the guests. I don't, there should be, that's a guide that one of the, event marketing platforms should do, is like, salesperson's like guided. It's like, you don't need to intercept. If you connect two people that get along that night, they will remember that. It's like, what are the things that add value to that? I mean, the folks have tried for years on booth behavior with sales reps, like try to find that middle ground. It's like, you can't just sit there, but you can't attack.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like dinner behavior is another one where you can really ruin a dinner. But yeah, man, the ones that go right to product, those are brutal. Even, by the way, I'm just going to tell everyone. So I've done this. I mean, you do this too. Matt does this too, where we go get asked to speak at a dinner. It's not because I'm speaking, but I can see people squirming in the seat if you spend the first 10 minutes talking about yourself. You actually should lead with the value. And then you can do the rest. But like, man, like the intro into, humble brag, or not so, like humble brag, you can see people just going, what the hell, in their seat. So just another thought on that. The dinner thing though, and the event thing is a big deal. We do obviously a ton as VCs. If the peer thing is really, if I look at like the ones that really work, it's all about getting the right people in the room together, and then, the rest is magic. It frankly doesn't even matter what I used to do. Matt, remember when you did this one with me too. What's that place in San Mateo on the corner, the German place?
Oh yeah, it's closing.
What?
Yeah.
Well, throw an event there. But anyway, they have this upstairs. Nobody does events there. I remember, and I'm like, no, we're going to take over the upstairs. And it's like, it was just people hanging out. It was all demand gen people, because Matt and I were doing an event right up at the Hyatt or something. And so we just and everyone was having a blast, and it's like, that's not high end. They could go there at any time, but, just being around the people. All right. So that's great. Any other things that you found from like what the good companies are doing today that we might learn from?
There's the stuff that the data says, and it's sort of, you can parse out some of that stuff. But I think the thing that I just kind of remind everybody is that you if you don't have a product, there's no amount of marketing that's going to sell. And so, there's this. I've been to a couple of events now where a bunch of CMOs have gotten together, and there's a lot of sort of shoegazing around what's the role of CMOs and what they have to do, and I feel really empathetic in the sense that, look, most of this is not your fault, and the good companies are good companies because they do a bunch of things right, not just the marketing right, not just, or just the product, and so what I don't have the answer on this, but what I'm teasing out in the next set of research that I do, which is on marketing headcount and marketing reporting structures, is to find out, are the better companies doing something different in the way that they've organized their marketing teams and who their CMOs are reporting to? Is the CRO really a thing? Like, is that going to be something different in the way that we operate? Is marketing and sales going to be combined into this one single metric? Those are the things that I'm looking at. But in terms of just simplifying, what are the better companies doing differently? Honestly, they're just doing more, and they're spending more, and they're spending on the growth channels, and that's the best I could say from the data, not anecdote data. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I was, because we met the other day, I was telling Mark, he's like, well, like, what do you do with that data? I'm like, I'll tell you exactly what a CMO does with Omar's data. They go to the next board meeting and say, I need more money to do this. I mean, Matt and I don't know who we were talking to the other day, but like trying to figure it out on the demand side costs money. You're going to have to pay to lose.
Yep.
And like, and so we're in this crazy time, because I get it. I'm supporting folks that are on the board side. It's like, when I talk to them, what do you want me to do? Like we can't. Like we have to figure this out. But I love what you said originally, which is like efficiency versus spending to grow. Those things are kind of separate. And Matt, was talking about how like the way people have to approach it today is like it's of your odds of not doing well are much higher than you're actually being able to figure it out. It's a crazy time.
I think the advice that I try to give everybody is nail the table stakes well, and then experiment. And I think like the thing that I see so often, and we own goal ourselves all the time as well, is people just don't do the table stakes stuff that well anymore. People don't make great landing pages. People don't do ads well. People don't do email nurture like at all anymore. And emails can be annoying, but they can also be like a very easy way to create some brand awareness, and a very inexpensive way to create brand awareness. If you do that well, if you don't ask for much back from the prospects, you're just like feeding them value. Hey, we did this research report. Here's one key finding, or here's a theme and 3 bullet points that you might find interesting. If you just provide people with value and they're like, oh, it's a cool company, they're not asking me to, give them my email address and, the last 4 digits of my social security number to see a demo or anything. Like, I think if you do that stuff well, and you let it just run on automation, then it gives you the opportunity to do some really cool experimentation. And that's where your brand is really going to, sort of materialize in the fun and exciting stuff that you do that maybe you won't always have the same budget for. It's going to, you got to experiment and you got to see if it works. And if it works, great. Let's double down there. But man, I talk to so many people who are like, yeah, we've never even started doing email marketing, or we use just a single landing page for everything, or, we've got one ad running. We have one BDR email sequence, and it's not all that effective, right? Like, so I think people are in such a rush to try to be the next Lovable or be the next Cursor that they're like trying all these kind of interesting, newfangled, crazy AI marketing activities, and they just don't do the baseline stuff well or at all.
I want to get your thoughts on this, Matt. I had this theory that if you go outside of Silicon Valley or B2B SaaS marketing, it's like the Fortune 500 big companies, or even just companies that aren't selling tech, they figured out the basics really well. They're actually not that great on the tactical stuff, but the basics of marketing 101, they're pretty good at. And in Silicon Valley, it's kind of flipped. There's people are technically very good. They can set up like personalized landing pages in a day, etc., whatever it is. But they haven't figured out the basics just yet. And the perfect marketer would be right in the middle of both of those things. And I feel like it's a dying breed because so many people are coming out. If you think about the marketers that are now VPs of marketing who started marketing in the last 5 years, they started in demand gen. They never had to do anything, positioning or just like, what are you going to say? And it kind of shows. So I think that's a really, really great call out. Just do the basics. The basics still work, and the hacks are kind of gravy, but that's not the thing that we should focus on.
Yeah, and I think hacks by their very nature aren't scalable. They're not sustainable. And if you're going to be reliant upon that, you've always got to come up with fresh, new, creative ideas that work. Because if they don't work, you definitely got a board and a CEO to go answer to.
I have to ask you: are your is your and you're not going to tell me this, but have you gotten like an investor or a CEO saying, "Hey, I saw this kid in India who hacked like clay and now automates like 5 different systems together. Why can't we do the same thing over here?" Are you getting conversations like that?
I mean, I've been sitting in board meetings since 2015, so the last
Yeah.
10 years, and I would say at least 1 in 3, there's a conversation that's
Yeah.
like that. It was growth hacks, then it was AI, then it was like, are we using digital Turks? And then it was like, and now it's, are we working with these offshore people to do something with clay?
Clay. Gosh, can we talk about clay for a second?
Oh, I'll talk about
Okay,
clay.
just yeah. So here's my thing with clay. I do not know what clay does. I'm happy to admit this. I do not know what clay does, but man, am I impressed with their marketing in the sense that they are everywhere. I know about them. I love their logo, love their brand. They're doing something right, except telling me what they do. And no one can tell me that either. And that's really, it's one of those things that just ruins my view of the world. Is like, how can they be good at marketing if I don't know what they do? But something's working there. I want to know what you guys think.
Well, something's working there. That I
Yeah.
can tell you. I do. Well, I would say, look, I just had a conversation this morning about their marketing. A lot of AI, by the way, in their production here. But like, they have done both. They've built an army of folks that are like, Matt worked at Marketo. Like the folks that were able to put, I can use Marketo on their resume was part of the marketing. Right, because they became Marketo experts and like this is what they did. And Clay's got, I mean, we've got these like, I'm pretty sure every kid trying to hack demand in Brooklyn uses Clay. And so, and that sort of builds on itself. And so you've got both like highly effective marketing. I mean, you should have heard the negotiations I had with their team on having them speak at our summit. It was like they were in a good way, by the way, everyone
Yeah.
listening. They were like, well, what if we did this? Oh, and we can also do this. We can also do that. And they were all great offers. By the way, I kept turning them down. I ended up doing more than what I wanted with them, and it was great. But like, so I actually think with them, you've got these guys who are addicted to it, that are pushing it, up. And then you've got coming from the top a halo from really good marketing. Now, in terms of you not knowing what they do, I'd love to help you, but like it is a good point. I'm not sure I could do it. I mean, but we use a bit of it. A lot of my portfolio companies use it, and then they often say, "Hey, I want to try," and then they try it, and then they go find someone who teaches them, and they become friends, and they just kind of keep playing with it until they, become sort of, I don't know what the Claygens is that, or whatever they want to call it. And so, I mean, I think it's an interesting topic just because they've done the sort of groundswell of building an army as well as doing marketing as well. That would be my analysis of the marketing. The fact that you don't know what they do still, I think that's interesting. Actually, I used to make fun of Salesforce.com and the name, and it's an amazing name because you know exactly what they do.
Yeah.
But look, dude, my mom used to go, "Hey, Craig, is SAP a good company?" And I'd be like, well, "Mom, do you mean SAP?" She's like, "Oh yeah, that one." And because the brand had sort of
Yeah.
hit her. But anyway, I don't know, Matt, what your thoughts are on that.
I think Clay has done the one thing that a lot of sales and MarTech companies kind of wish they could still do, but like I would say SalesLoft and Outreach did this really well. Marketo and HubSpot did this really well. I don't think Pardot or Eloqua did this very well. It's like they got people to talk about them a lot, And I mean, and what does it do? I mean, gosh, it's a modern Zoom info, right? Like it's just it's a data provider. They've got some like, I don't know, some cool tables and stuff like that. Originally, like,
Way to sell it.
I mean, do they need my help? I don't think they need my help.
That's a good point. Hey, but you're talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. But they at a time, I think, when there wasn't very much interesting sales or MarTech happening, they were kind of the one thing that was really interesting, and they got pretty wide adoption very fast. They were very cool with like the like sales hackery type people, the growth hackery type people, and then just growth people in general. And then as they evolved, they made the product very easy to use. So I think I don't know. I think lightning in a bottle a little bit, right place, right time a little bit. Their marketing is definitely great, but I think about their marketing less than I think about just the sheer volume of people who will text me and be like, "Hey, do you use Clay?" And I say yes, and they're like, "Hey, would you mind like helping me out with how you're using it?" Right. So I haven't gotten that much request for information from my peers on a tool since probably the Marketo days.
Sales. I mean, you were like a SalesLoft
True. Yeah. Yeah.
outreach.
Sales off too.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
used up on that. Both of those that you mentioned, those are
Yeah.
great examples. Omar, when you were breathing, were you trying to react, or are you?
No, he's just trying to stay alive.
No, yeah. No, I think it's just fascinating, and I wonder if I should carve out some time to do research that's just about clay. Like I just put out a research paper saying, this is why clay is everywhere, and this is what they're doing, and some because I think it's a fascinating case study that that if you talk about it, it's not like this life changing product, but people love it, and why do they love it, and why are they talking about it, and what's this FOMO that they're creating amongst everyone? It's a fascinating case study to look at, and I'd love to sort of go dig into that.
Yeah. All right. I'll give you guys another one that I think both of these relate to everything you're talking about in terms of what works. But how about this? The survivor of the last sales tech revolution is Gong.
Yeah.
Holy shit. They made it through, and like they're still, they haven't stopped, and there's so many options. Like is that brand?
I think a big part of it is brand. I think Udi Ledergor is a very smart marketer, and there's a lot of lessons to be learned from Gong. And I think part of it is also they got big quickly at a time when there was that need, kind of like what Matt was talking about. Like there was a big dip in sort of exciting sales tech products, and they kind of all came out at the same time. And I do believe Gong's staying power is very much due to brand. They managed to do some really great, some of the stuff that I don't even know, and I just heard just from watching Udi talk about it, like billboard takeovers and things that you wouldn't sort of necessarily associate with SaaS marketing, but guerrilla marketing. I thought that was smart, and more than anything else, I think they have a fantastic presence in terms of their people. When we talk about like charismatic individuals talking about the brand online, I think they have a few folks that come across my feed, and people generally seem to love using them. All those things definitely. I think incumbents get to where they are because they have a very strong brand presence and they occupy so much mind share.
Matt, do you agree?
I do. I mean, I think almost every conversation that we've had today about content and brand, you could map to the growth of Gong. Gong started off with, by putting out statistics that only they had. They had data that was unique to their business. We've listened to X many calls, and like these are the 4 things that you can say that will increase your likelihood to win a deal by 70%. And the counter to that, these are the 4 things that you say that will kill a deal, right? Like Orlov's content during that time period is legendary. And I think it was just, really, really smart marketing. And then that grew into this brand where like, we've had other guests on the show that will tell you like, Gong is not, the way they position themselves is like, they weren't sales tech, they were truth.
Yeah.
And like that I thought was fantastic because it is what it is. It's like, here's a recording of the calls. Like, and that's that was such a clever way to elevate what they were doing because we all spend all day, every day trying to get to the truth by building reports, by reading content like what Omar creates, like what is the truth and, how do we get there? And they were just like, yeah, we have it. It's recorded. Don't have time to listen to it. We summarized it. Don't have time to learn anything for it. We'll give you the trends. Want to, quickly analyze, the last 100 conversations and find out, what people's primary pain point was or why they didn't advance. We've got all that information. It's just truth.
Yeah. Let's do an ode to John Miller on that one because he said the best content you could create is data that you can only get from your product.
Yeah.
Yep.
How about that, John Miller?
Yeah.
There we go. All right, guys, that was a killer show.
Badass.
Yeah, dude, you're good, Omar. You're good.
I appreciate it.
You can hang. But next time, like maybe we capitalize on the leather pants thing.
Let's go deeper there. I'd love to go deeper there. Yeah.
A deep dive?
Yeah.
Deep dive. A new show type.
Yeah.
We do deep dives into things like leather pants. But anyway, man, you're gonna do big things. It's really exciting.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And I'm glad we were able to put you on the show and showcase you. So this was perfect for me.
I had an absolute blast. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm shocked that it's actually over. I was like, oh, I feel like we just started.
It went fast.
Thank
yeah.
you so much. Yeah,
It go
I
fast.
really appreciate it.
And just so everyone, a quick update: the Costco man came and delivered $500 worth of alcohol and a Caesar salad, and the poor guy probably got barked at, and then the Costco goods actually got barked at by my dog. So that's why we did that. So
Tremendous.
yeah, there you go. All right, guys, let's take the rest of the day off. Let's go.
All
That
right.
was great.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Transaction. Craig and I really appreciate the fact that you've listened all the way to the end. What are you actually doing here? For show notes and other episodes, please visit us at thetransactionpod.com. Like and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other place you get your podcast from. Either you have walked away from your podcast device, or this is playing somewhere in the background. Someone in your house would really like for you to shut this off now.